Good morning. Welcome to another FasTrax webinar. This is a weekly event we do every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we go over various topics of the FasTrax software. You can see these events if you go to our website, goftx.com, choose the FTx Lifeline tab, scroll down about halfway down the page, look for that webinar button, choose that, and this page will let you sign up for the newsletter, which lets you be notified of upcoming webinars, as well as see all of our previous webinars by selecting the webinar and choosing the view recording button and signing up for new webinars. This week, we're going to be going over creating custom labels for retail. So jumping right in, the FasTrax software supports Dymo and Zebra printers, and those are used to print labels. Those can be imported into the system and used in both POS and Director. You can create custom labels by using the respective Dymo or Zebra software. We're first going to be looking at the Dymo software, and that's specifically called the Dymo label. Once you have that installed, you can then create your custom label. So we're going to create a quick label here. And first, when you start this off, you have to first choose a label. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to choose a label that we would have on hand here. I'll say this library barcode, and I want to have a completely blank label. So there's that label. And me personally, I like to zoom in just a little bit, just so I can make that larger and see more clearly. So we've got our label in place. We then have to add in what's called variable objects. And that's going to be what holds that data. There's 4 different types of variable objects. 3 of those are text and 1 is a barcode. And we have to name those specific things in order for the system to know what to place in those fields. So first, let's do like a barcode. What we're going to do is we choose the Insert tab, and that's going to bring up these label objects. And I want to add a barcode. So I'm going to choose that barcode and I'm going to drag it over here to the label. It's as simple as that. I'll then shrink that down. I'm going to put that right here toward the center of that label. And that's going to be our barcode. Now we need to set that as a variable object. So I'm going to right click that and go to Properties. And this checkbox, I want to make sure that function as variable object is checked. That's important. The next thing we want to do is we want to name this the proper variable name. And that name, you'd have to go to the Advanced tab here, and it's the reference name. And we want this to be item barcode. That's all there is to this. The barcode, whenever we choose OK, it's now ready to be used. Next, we probably want to add a description of some kind. So for that, we're going to choose a text box, drag it over here. I'm going to shrink that. Notice as I shrink it, it's dynamically scaling. I'm going to put that toward the top of the barcode. And we want to right-click this and go to Properties. We want to make sure this is set to function as a variable object. And we want this text, this reference name here, to be item description. And then we choose OK. And then I'm just going to enter some placeholder text here just so I can see how that looks. So notice that's to the left. I probably want to make sure that that's going to be like centered. Just so, depending on the length of the description, it'll be centered on that label. The next thing we probably want to put is going to be the item price. So to do that, we just simply drag another text box over. We're going to shrink that to where it would fit. I'm going to put that below the other text box. I'm going to right-click that and go to Properties. Make sure that is set to function as a variable object. And I want that centered as well. And I'm going to choose the Advanced area here. And for the reference name, I want this to be item price. I'll choose OK. And I'm going to enter in some text here just so I can see how it would look. Notice that I have that centered and it's not perfectly aligned, so I'm just going to align that just for my sake. That looks good. So let's say this is how I want my label to look. It has the description, the price, and the barcode. Let's say I'm satisfied with that. I will then choose File and Save As, and I'm going to choose a specific location for this label to be. I'm going to put that in the FasTrax folder under the Dymo Label Templates folder. I'm just going to call this label Webinar. And that's going to save that to my computer in that specific folder location. At that point, in Director, whenever I reopen Director, and I go to my reports and my list reports and my barcode shelf report, I can then actually choose the option to use a Dymo here. So I'm going to search for a UPC real fast. I'm going to add that as a selection. I want to print the barcode. I want to use Dymo. When I choose print here, it's then going to bring up an option to choose my label. And then there's that webinar label that we had just made. I can select that, choose select, and then at that point, it's going to ask me what these variables are. There's my description, there's my barcode, there's my price, automatically filled out. So that covers the Dymo side, how you actually build and utilize the Dymo, a custom Dymo label via the Dymo label software. The next type of label printer that we support is the Zebra. And that has a program called the Zebra Designer. And it functions a lot like the Dymo software where you can customize your own label. So after opening it up, we're going to choose the Create a New Label. It's then going to bring up the options where we choose our printer. I've already got my printer selected by default. I'll choose Next. Then you have to choose the stock type. And we have a label on hand, the Transmat 2000. There's the label. Notice it's 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. I'm just going to choose the default settings here next. And then we're presented with the label here. We then have to do the same thing that we did in the Dymo software. We have to add those elements to this label. And it has a bit different variable names. So let's say we want to add our UPC. We're going to choose the barcode. We're going to choose Add here. And for the barcode data type here, we want to make sure that it's set to a fixed text value. So this right here, that default option, fixed barcode, we want to make sure that's set to fixed. We do not want this to be a variable. For the name here, this has to be the @ item UPC, @. So just to repeat that, it's @ item UPC, @. We'll choose Finish. That brings up the barcode here that we can then place on this label. So I'm going to shrink that down to size where that would work. Going to put that at the bottom. Then we can add the description and the price. And that's also going to be a text value. So I'm going to click the text. I'm going to add that here. Once again, we're making sure this is a fixed text value, not variable. For the name, we want to, if this is the description, we want this to, name to be @ item description, @ and then choose Finish. Then we can place that where we want to place that. And we want to add a price to this. We then choose Text once again, click in our label, make sure this is set to a fixed text value, and we use the value @ item price, @ Finish. Then that has the item price variable here. We'll line that up, and then if we're satisfied, we can then choose to save this file and import that into Director. Now this is a bit different process than the Dymo side, so pay close attention. We're going to choose File, and we're going to choose Print here. Notice there's an option to print to file. We want to make sure that print to file is checked. We choose Print. We choose the location that's going to go to. So I'm going to go to my labels folder here, and I'm just going to call this webinar, and I'm going to save that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to open Director, and we have to make sure we're set to an admin on our Director login. We want to make sure that the support mode is set to checked. So in this case, it already was for me. We then open Director. We click on the FasTrax logo. That's going to bring up the option to enter a password. We enter in the password, which is FasTrax 0 exclamation, capital F, capital T. Choose OK. Then if we scroll over, which pay very close attention to these options here, you do not want to mess with these options. We want to go to the specific Other tab and choose the Manage Zebra label formats. That's all we want to touch. We don't want to touch anything else. That's going to bring up the Zebra format creation. Now, we want to choose a new Zebra format. We're going to label this properly. I'm just going to call this webinar. And then we have the format code. To get that code, we have to go to where we saved that label, where we printed that label. So notice it's here. And it's a .prn file. Now I want to make sure that I right-click that PRN file, and I want to choose the Open With, and I want to make sure that it's set to Notepad. And that's going to then open that file, and you're going to get this weird-looking text. And this text is what we actually want to copy and paste into that field in Director, that format code. Once we're done, we'll choose Save after we paste that. It'll give us the message that was created successfully. We want to go ahead and close out of this window, reopen Director. We can log in then. We'll go to our reports to look at that format. Go to our list reports, our barcode report. I'm going to search for a UPC. We want to choose the Use Zebra option this time. When we choose the printer button, we choose our label type, and then there's our webinar label that we just created. So that's how you import the custom label into Director from a Zebra option. So that covers building our labels. Now, of course, we can see where we print these in Director by us going here previously, go into our reports, our list reports, our barcode shelf label report, and then there's several options. You can filter by UPCs, you can filter by department categorizations, you can filter by invoices, price changes. There's a lot of options to filter by. That's how you'd print via Director. Now the POS can also print. When we log into the point of sale, we can open the POS up, and if we do a price check on an item, there's an option here to print label. And then I can choose to print a Zebra label or Dymo label. I can choose the format and, of course, the printer. I can print that directly from the price change screen, the price lookup screen. Also, you can add a button. If you go to your Actions, Settings, POS Button Editor, and then choose a panel you'd like to add a button to, which if you have not watched the POS Button Editor panel, I would recommend you do so. I'm going to choose the cashier functions, and I've already got a button here for that. If I choose the labels, we can see that I have a launch module button type with the module set to labels. When we go to that screen, and choose our labels, we can then search for items by description or UPC to print labels for. Say I want to print a label for that. I then click on it, choose OK, and then I have the option Zebra, or Dymo. And then we, of course, can choose the format, the printer, and a couple other options. So that's how you'd print labels from the point of sale. Finally, there's an application that you can make a shortcut for from your FasTrax folder, and it's called the FasTrax Print Labels. So I'm in the C drive, my FasTrax folder, and I'm going to choose the FasTrax. It's specifically called FasTrax Label Printer. There's the application. And you can make a shortcut to that to your desktop or your taskbar, wherever you'd like. When you open it up, it's basically a queue of labels that you can use to queue up from a handheld device. And that's really convenient because you can, of course, use the Windows or Android handle to queue these up. So for an example, I can show you my Android device here. Let's open this up. Here I am on the Android login screen. I'm going to log in. Then I'm going to choose the module Print Labels in that top right corner. And then you could simply search for a UPC by choosing that search button up here. You can use a built-in scanner or the camera. Scan a UPC, enter how many labels you'd like to have. That would add it to this application. There's that, what I just scanned, a quantity of 5. And then, of course, by default, it's going to choose the Dymo. I can choose which label I want to use from the Dymo, or I can choose the checkbox to use the Zebra printer. So that covers creating custom labels for both Dymo and Zebra printers, and then how to print those from the handheld, from Director, and from POS. So I hope everybody learned something new today. As always, we have these events every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. You can get to those and see those if you go to our website, FTx.com. Choose the FTX Lifeline button at the top of the screen. Scroll down about halfway down that page and choose the webinar button. This page will let you subscribe for the newsletter to get upcoming webinars and FasTrax news, as well as see the previous webinars and sign up for the new webinars that are upcoming. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at 256-319-3470 or email us at websupport@FasTraxPOS.com. And if you have any feedback or suggestions for future webinars, let us know at info@goftx.com. Thank you and have a great weekend.